All right. So we're going to learn the first, that is the atmosphere. Now, what is atmosphere? Again, we are looking at spheres. Spheres matlab ghol, things that are round, okay? Things around. So when I'm talking about atmosphere, I'm talking about something that's around me. Now, that something that's around me is my air. Atmosphere is talking about the air that's around me. That layer of air that's around me is called my atmosphere. So simple, right? Air that is all around me is my atmosphere. All right. So that is your sphere. Now, in atmosphere also, there are layers. It's just like an onion. We saw how the earth had layers inside, inside, inside. Now we come to the atmosphere. Okay. And now atmosphere also has layers outside, 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 outside. Okay. So remember again, the atmosphere is all around us. You want to touch the atmosphere, touch it. I'm so sure you cannot feel it, but you can touch it because it's all around you. Now, the layers of the atmosphere are named as the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the ionosphere, and exosphere. Now, the layer that extends from the Earth's surface to a height of about 13 kilometers is called the troposphere. The conditions in the troposphere change continuously. They affect the living world to a great extent. Now, remember one thing, okay? Now, when I look at the layers, okay, they all have a particular name. And doesn't it sound funny? Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, ionosphere, exosphere. Now, because it's funny, you will be able to remember them very well, all right? Okay, so all these layers are important, but the most important is your troposphere, the layer that extends from the Earth's surface to a height of about 13 kilometer. Okay, height is 13 kilometer. That thick is your troposphere. Now, the conditions in the troposphere change continuously. They affect the living world to a great extent. Why does it affect the living world in a great extent? Because all that happens in your weather. We say weather is bad, weather is good, the air is so cold, the air is so hot. All that, when we speak, we talk about everything in the troposphere, inside the troposphere, whatever is happening in the troposphere. That's where the clouds are formed. You have the rains. Everything is inside your troposphere, that particular sphere which is touching your earth, which you can touch right now. Touch it. Touch the troposphere. Okay, so what more? Beyond the troposphere, the next very, very important layer of up to a height of 50 kilometer from the earth. Earth से 50 kilometer पे एक layer है. There's a next layer that is just outside the troposphere and stratosphere के नीचे. Okay. Now see, imagine the lower part of the stratosphere. There's one stratosphere, okay, from the earth. It's 50 kilometer far from the earth. That's stratosphere and troposphere. Between them, there is that one layer called the ozone layer. Now, this ozone layer is very, 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 very important. It is acting like a protective shield. It's protecting your earth completely. You know why? Because the sun, it gives out some rays which are harmful for us to survive. Those are called the ultraviolet rays. Now, these ultraviolet rays that's coming from the sun is very harmful for all the living things. Any people living on the earth, it's very, very, very harmful for them. But this ozone layer kya karta hai? It observes that and protects the living world from getting those rays. And so this ozone layer is so very important. Baki rays chhodta hai, let the other rays go, but the ultraviolet rays are captured and kept to itself by the ozone layer. Okay, next, the surface of the earth, remember, all right, they get heated, okay, due to the heat it receives from the sun. Hence, the air nearest the surface is hottest. Okay, As we go higher in the troposphere, it becomes cooler, which means that when the sun's rays are falling on the earth, obviously you know how hot it becomes. You also can feel the heat. It's just like you can feel the heat is pushed down in the atmosphere also. Okay, so in the atmosphere, when I say atmosphere, mainly I'm talking about which is the first sphere. मेरे ऊपर कौन सा स्पीयर है पहला? Troposphere, correct? That's the first sphere. So the troposphere is very hot. But as we keep on going higher and higher, means if suppose you have a rocket and you go out from the earth, okay, so you move from the troposphere, you go higher to the stratosphere, it's more cold. Go to the mesosphere, more cold. Ionosphere, more cold. So as you go more far from the earth, the atmosphere is very cold. All right, and again the air is rare, which means the air that you have up, there's less of air and it's more cold out there. Clear? Now, see your troposphere, see the right side picture over here. Your aeroplanes, they don't cross your troposphere, okay? They do not go out from there. Your air balloons, they also cannot go from there because you will fall short of oxygen, right? The air over there is not conducive for you to stay. Now, but what about, sorry, but what about the spacecrafts and the satellites? They go beyond. They go beyond the troposphere, the stratosphere, the ionosphere. They are outside. All right. They are on that. They are on the extreme layers of the atmosphere. Now that's how we can define what is an atmosphere. What is our atmosphere? The envelope of air, the envelope of air that's around the earth is called the atmosphere. So cool, right? Right. Now we see what is the air consist of. Now I told you as we go from high from the surface of the earth, it becomes air matlab यहाँ air है. As you go to stratosphere, air है ही नहीं. उससे ज्यादा जाएंगे air बिल्कुल नहीं है. So you see that air कम होते 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 finally if you go to space, air is not there. Air is not there, rhyming, right? Air is not there, and that is why you cannot walk into the atmosphere. You need to wear that astronaut suit where he has an oxygen cylinder at the back and the oxygen is continuously given to him. So that's why astronauts wear those suits. Okay, so because as they go out from the earth, there is no air, because in the air you have the main gases, especially your oxygen. If there is no air, there's no oxygen. What are the, if you can understand, there's oxygen, you think only oxygen is there? No, look at this pie chart over here. If you see, nitrogen is the most. See the whole blue part. If suppose that one circle is talking about the entire amount of air, air के अंदर सबसे ज्यादा क्या है? Nitrogen. Then comes oxygen. Then comes little carbon dioxide. बहुत कम, means sorry, the other gases, and then carbon dioxide सबसे कम. Clear? All right. So there's lot of oxygen. That's why you all can breathe. Imagine in think of all the number of people who are who are being born in this earth. Imagine the n number of animals that are being born. All as soon as they are born, they need oxygen. All of them have the oxygen. How is that possible? Well, that's because above the oxygen. But imagine, but remember, you should not fall short of the oxygen, or else it's going to be very, very difficult for every one of us. Okay. Now, those who are writing on the screen, please stop doing that. Okay. That'll be very good. Okay. Next. Let's go to the next one. All right. The air on the mountains is rarer than the air near the Earth's surface. Means even when you go for mountaineering, people go for mountain, they always carry oxygen cylinders, because as they go high, 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 these high mountains, they are actually touching the troposphere, and because they're touching the troposphere, you should understand, troposphere से और आगे जाएंगे तो air कम हो जाएगा, एयर कम हो जाएगा मतलब ऑक्सीजन भी कम हो जाएगा. Understand that. Aeroplanes, they fly in the higher parts of the troposphere. So what happens? Naturally, there is very less oxygen there on the top part of the troposphere. There the air is rare, and that is why arrangements have to be made to ensure that passengers get enough air for breathing. Because if suppose they don't get this enough air for breathing, some problem happens. Okay, they all can die in a jiffy. All of them will not have air to breathe. Okay, that's why they have facilities where they have kept oxygen masks. Okay, as soon as the pilot feels that there is some level of oxygen ka problem hai in the atmosphere, what they do is they send down these masks, and people can put those masks and they can start breathing in actual pure oxygen. Clear? So this is what is our troposphere all about. So important our troposphere is, right? Now, one more reason for it to be important is almost all the water vapor in the atmosphere is contained in the troposphere. Wow, really? All the water vapor that you can see, okay, around you is in the troposphere. That is why all weather related phenomena such as formation of clouds, rain, fog, winds, and storms, they all take place in the troposphere. So all this cloud forming, rain, Anika, fog, winds, storms. Remember I spoke to you, we all learned about hailstorm in fourth standard. Yeah, think of that. All this happens right now where? In your troposphere only. Okay, now if you see this picture, we will give you a clear idea as to where and all people can go. Stratosphere ke upar jayenge to you need your astronaut ka suit. Okay, then next you can see the thermosphere is there in the exosphere. Now don't think what is thermosphere. Thermosphere and ionosphere is almost the same. Okay, they almost overlap each other. All right, so if you say thermosphere or you say ionosphere, it's just the same. Don't worry. Your mesosphere, the thermosphere or the ionosphere, and then your exosphere, that's outside. Clear? Can you see, understand over here? Now, state of matter. We are right now only talking about water. Okay, only talking about water. Water is ice, solid. Kadak hai, kadak. Solid matlab kadak. If you make it, if you give garam, heat देंगे, means ice को लेके तुम kettle में डालो, and then you give it heat, the ice will become liquid. Correct? Now ये liquid को और गरम करो, give it more heat, what will it become? It becomes steam. सब निकलता है, kettle से आ जाता है, धुआं निकलता है. That धुआं, the steam is actually your water vapor. It is actually water in form of gas. Gas के तौर पे हो जाता है. Okay, it changes its form. The same vapor. Take a lid. Imagine, take a lid and close it. If you close it, the lid is cold. Means you're giving cold to that gas. Okay, the steam which is coming out, that is touching the coldness of the lid. That time you will see that there'll be drops of water on the lid, which means this water vapor has become cold and it will turn into liquid again. If you give it more cold, if you make the water vapor cold, it becomes liquid. And ये liquid को bottle में डाल के fridge में डालो and give it more cold. More, make it more cold. वापस क्या बन जाता है? कड़क ice. Clear? So this is what is the state of water. Water का ये quality है. This is the quality of water. Solid, heat करो, liquid, liquid को और गरम करो, it becomes gas. Okay, that is your vapor. ये vapor को ले लो, ये गैस जो भी निकल रहा है उसको ठंडा करो, it becomes liquid. पानी बन जाता है, actual पानी. और ये पानी को और ठंडा करो, बन जाता है ice. But all the three are water only, but different forms of water. Now let's try to understand the new word over here. That's your condensation. Now this piece I told you, spoke to you about the heating of it. Also I'm going to talk to you about the cooling of it. If you keep a glass of cold water outside, glass पे cold water है, पानी किधर है? Glass के अंदर. But you will see that अरे पानी के बाहर भी पानी आ गया, ग्लास के बाहर भी पानी आ गया, ऐसा कैसा? Yeah, the water vapor which is around you, it is becoming cold because of the chillness of the पानी का chillness की वजह से the water vapor is given, the vapor, the gas is given more cold, it's given more, it become made cold. When it is become cold, it turns into liquid, and that's how it makes drops of water on over your entire glass. And see, more water होते if you see when it's collecting क्या हो जाता है? It starts falling down. हाँ, it can no longer stay on the glass. वो क्या करने लगता है? गिरने लगता है. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. And now let's try to understand this. That is, how does it rain? This is very, very important. All right. Now, this is called a water cycle. What is your water cycle? Let's try to understand. Water on earth, water that is on earth, it evaporates. Evaporate मतलब वही जो तुम लोग केटल में डाल के गर्म करते हैं ना, और क्या हो जाता है? The water big turns into vapor. That's called evaporates. Remember, water turning into vapor is called evaporates. Now, so water on earth evaporates continuously due to the heat of the sun. When the sun is giving the heat, imagine it's equal to the stove giving the heat. The sun is giving the heat in the water, the surface water ऊपर जो है, that also the surface water, and as well as that, the groundwater, that is water that has percolated into the soil, also evaporates due to the heat and enters the atmosphere. The ground water, जो पानी percolate मतलब जो पानी अंदर घुस गया है, which has gone inside the earth, the lithosphere, that also evaporates. Okay, that also evaporates and goes up into the atmosphere. Now, as the water vapor is lighter than air, this vapor is lighter than air. It rises high up into the atmosphere. It goes up and up and up. It goes up to the troposphere. We are still in the troposphere right now. Now, as it goes higher, it cools and condenses, forming very fine droplets of water. Condensing, we already saw the new word. What is that? Vapor turning into water. So as this vapor is going up, it becomes small drops of water. Now that small drops of water is so light, if you can फू करेंगे तो वो उड़ जाएगा. So with the wind, it keeps on floating, and these, so they float, go up, and catch and come together and form one big cloud. Now, you know, one drop plus one drop plus one drop plus one drop becomes a big drop, correct? Now, when these small droplets of water join together, they become big drops, big drops. Now, when they become big drops, they're not able to stand there. They will fall down, just like the water when on the side of the glass, which cannot stay for long time. After they all come together, kya ho jayega? They will fall down. Same way, now they cannot float because they have become heavy. Such drops of water fall down on the earth in form of rain. This is called your rain. Clear? Okay. Now, this rainwater, this rain which has come down, now if rain has fallen down, okay, it flows into the rills. I told you, from the mountains it keeps flowing, rills, streams, rivers, and finally it goes into your sea ke baad finally into even your ocean. Finally it has to reach the ocean. Remember, all the water, rainwater, has to go to your ocean. Okay, unka chalta rehta hai cycle. They keep on, they're traveling, they go into the ocean. Now, the ice in the snow covered regions, they also melt due to the heat of the sun. They also finally flow into the rivers. They also keep flowing. Now, now again flows into the river, and from river again what happens? Evaporation hota hai. Again, the sun falls on the water. There's evaporation happening. Water becomes vapor. Then from vapor it becomes again condensation. Matlab what? Vapor becomes water again, and then again it becomes a cloud, and once it's all together, again what happens, it again falls on form of rain. वापस the rain goes into the river, again go to the ocean, again then ocean से वापस vapor होता है, again condensation, again then the rainfall, and this keeps on and on and on and on. ये चलता रहता है. You saw, this processes keeps on going in a continuous cycle. This is known as water cycle. Whatever I underline is very, very important. So this process of evaporation, condensation, rainfall is together called your water cycle. Keep this in mind. It's very, very important. In the second picture, you see it's called precipitation. It's the same thing. That means rainfall, falling down, okay, of water is called your precipitation. Now, what is biosphere? Let's go to the next sphere. We learned about atmosphere. We learned the ozone layer. We learned the water cycle. When we learned about atmosphere, ये सब learn किया. We learned the important layer, that's the troposphere. उसमें सब कुछ होता है. Okay, our living, everything happens in the troposphere. And we saw the importance of ozone layer also. Let's go to the biosphere now. Now, there are innumerable kinds of living things on Earth. Isn't it right? Is there only one bird, one animal? No. Innumerable means the kinds are so much that still we don't know. We are still discovering about the different living things on the earth. Now, the various regions of the earth differ in many ways. Some regions are always covered with ice, while some others have hot climate, that is the deserts. Then we see there are mountains in some places and plains in others. In plain areas, you have the cultivation, there's crop plantation and everything. In mountainous region, you find that they're filled with mountains. Some places have lot of rainfall, and because of the lot of rainfall, you find lot of trees. Okay, while others are dry deserts. Okay, there are salty seas. Okay, the seas are salty. There are oceans and also freshwater lakes where there's fresh river water flowing in. The water in the lakes are very fresh. You find that there are rivers. You have places. You have lithosphere. They're talking about now. They're talking about hydrosphere. They're talking about even the ocean, which is shallow near the coast, but away from the coastline. Okay, now from the coastline, if you go the last picture over here, can you see? If you go more further from the coastline से ज़्यादा जाएंगे अंदर, the ocean can be several kilometers deep. Means you'll find some aquatic animals only in the deep seas. They'll never come out. Some of them, they are really on the top. Some fishes, they like to be on the top. Okay, some fishes are on the sand. Okay, some aquatic things are on the sand. So if you see, there is life in every place. Now, in all these places, may it be mountainous, may it be snowy, may it be desert, you will find that there are living things. Yes or no? Yes. We especially are the ones living in all these places. We are living things. What about animals, birds? They are living everywhere. You see any place, you find an animal. You'll find a dog at least on the street. You will find some living thing in every place, but not that one place. If you find one living thing, should be everywhere. So if you bring the polar bear here, it's not going to survive. Some places are only meant for those animals. The climate is only conducive for them. So for example, all right, the polar bear is seen only in snowbound polar regions. Zebras are found only in Africa. Kangaroos are found only in Australia. These animals are not found in any other regions. You will find them only there. Elephants and lions are found in regions of hot climate. Plants in all these different regions also show a great variety. Oh, don't talk about plant variety. They are innumerous, right? This variety is characteristic of those different regions. So in places where you have lot of rain, you'll find only some kind of plants. In some place where there's no plant, especially the cactus, you'll not find cactus anywhere on the road wherever you go. All right, no, you'll find cactus especially only in that particular area. That's where you have the desert region, you'll find your cactus. All right. And so you'll see there's a great variety, no matter what. There's a huge variety. Okay. But living things are everywhere. Now, many kinds of plants, animals, and microorganisms are found everywhere on the earth, on land, in water, and in the air. Living things exist in the lithosphere, in the hydrosphere, and the atmosphere. They also interact with these spheres. This living world constitutes the biosphere. Now, if you see, living things are there everywhere, correct? So in the atmosphere, you will see that they are there. You will see they are in the hydrosphere. Okay, they are in the water. You'll find aquatic plants, living things are in the water. You'll find living things in the lithosphere. The earthworms, the microorganisms are all inside. You'll find the rabbit making burrows, the rat making burrows, the snakes. They all sit inside what? Your lithosphere. They come out also. All right. Now, your frog, it stays in the water, it comes out also. All right. And so you have birds. Okay. The birds fly in the air. Their life is in the air. Okay. Now, so they are in the atmosphere. So if you see, life is everywhere. Okay. Biosphere means life. Bio matlab life. Life sphere is in your hydrosphere, it's in your lithosphere, it's in your atmosphere. So that is what is biosphere. It consists of everything. Now, almost always remember what you got to remember. All plants, animals, and microorganisms are dependent on each other. Both are dependent. Okay, all of them depend on each other. They also dependent on the spheres of the earth. Clear? So for surviving, they need. So for you can't bring the fish out and say, "Arey baap re, bas ho gaya, tum pani mein mat raho, tum abhi land mein raho." No, it is so dependent on the hydrosphere. If there's no hydrosphere, it won't survive. So it is dependent on the different spheres. Now, the biosphere is where they take birth, they live, and they die. That biosphere is actually an imaginary circle. It's not a circle, you can't see it. It's an imaginary circle of life where they live, they are born, they live, and then they die. It's an imaginary circle of life. Clear? Now, what we have learned, let's try to understand quickly what we have learned in the entire lesson. Okay, the Earth's crust and a small hard portion of the layer under it is called the lithosphere. We saw the lithosphere. What is it? The Earth's crust is actually called the lithosphere, right? Now, we also learned that 1/3 of the Earth's surface is occupied by land, while about 2/3 is covered with water. We saw that there is more of water than land. On earth we have more water than land. Then we also saw surface water, ice on the land, groundwater, and water vapor present in the air together form the hydrosphere. So we have the surface water which humko dikhta hai. Then we have the ice on land. All right, what we can see, the ice. All right, in the cold regions, the groundwater which has gone down, percolated inside the ground, and the water vapor which is present in the air. ये सब मिला के they all together form your hydrosphere, which means pani jidhar bhi in whatever form is your hydrosphere. Next, the envelope of air around the earth. Okay, around the earth is called your atmosphere. Now, I'm so sorry, this was talking we are this was this with the this picture was talking about your surface water, about the ice on land, and the groundwater, and the water vapor around you. Okay, next, the envelope of air around the earth is called the atmosphere. Okay, so whatever the envelope that's around the earth, it creates a nice circular envelope around the earth, and that's called your atmosphere. Next, we saw the water cycle on earth. It keeps on going. It's a continuous cycle. It keeps on happening. Because of this water cycle only you get your rains, or else you won't get your rains. Remember, okay, understand that. Next, the ozone gas in the stratosphere absorbs the harmful ultraviolet rays coming from the sun. So that ozone layer, okay, it's the gas that's there. That's the ozone layer. Now that layer catches all your harmful rays. Which are those rays? What is the name of the rays? Ultraviolet rays. It stops that ultraviolet rays coming from the sun, and thus it protects all living things, okay, on earth. The main and the important thing, living things occupy parts of the lithosphere, hydrosphere, as well as the atmosphere. So we are there everywhere, and so pay attention to what is underlined. Living things and all the parts they occupy are together called the biosphere. Matlab living things, very very important. Bio matlab living. So living things and all the parts that you occupy. Which are those parts? The atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the lithosphere, everything that they occupy wherever they are. That's your biosphere. Clear?